No Steiny, Larry in today for Steiny. We take you up until 3 p.m. on a beautiful Tuesday, but now the Giant fans got to be frantic, Larry. We talked about the Giants not landing the big fish a couple weeks ago in Aaron Judge, but let me tell you who they did get. One Carlos Correa, 13 years, $350 million deal, and today I've been asking, Larry, I think I'm the only one. Hey, Damon. Hey, Ratto. Anybody that listen? Bonte Jasky, when's the presser? Willard, when's the presser? Oh, we'll tell you they'll have it sometime. And today was the day, and all of a sudden we find out that's put on hold, canceled, like some dinner reservations.
Postponed.
Larry, what's going through your dome? Tell us, because to me, I thought PEDs, that was my first initial one, and hopefully it's nothing. But now the AP is reporting that it's a medical condition, and the Giants are concerned. So, again, I don't know. You're Mr. What do they call me? The panic guy.
The sky's falling.
Thank you, Larry. You might have heard it.
No, I mean, seriously.
But, man.
It's $350 million. If you're not going to be sure on this, you're not responsible. I mean, this is a sizable amount of money. You want, if anything was flagged in a routine checkup, I don't care if it was minor. It's $350 million. They're bidding as much on Carlos Correa as they did on the entire franchise.
But what did they find, Larry? That's where I'm going. You're right. You're saying due diligence. It's all part of the process. But if I'm a Giant fan, I'm panicking like, what could have flagged them to the, and it could be a litany of things, but to the point to cancel this presser. And now you just have to think about, as a Giant fan, do we have Correa or do we not? And the ramifications on if you do not.
You know, during the Giants Fan Fest through the years, I've had a chance to interview guys like Dr. Ken Akazuki and Dr. Robert Murray, and these are guys that are Giants doctors on their staff.
Okay.
And I remember talking to them about their job and what their role is, and he's like, they're like, it's actually the biggest part of our job is the due diligence that we do on prospective free agents, on prospective free agent buys, because the investment's so large. And, Sabian at the time, or now in this case, Farhan, they need answers, and they need you to stand behind it medically. And there's shared information among teams, and then there's information that's not shared. So these guys do a lot of reconnaissance, if you will, on each player before they even enter into a contract negotiation. Now, in this case, they agreed to a deal before he actually took the physical. Then they do the physical.
Yeah.
Well, if you're investing $350 million and you see a bulging disc in a back, let's just say, and I'm just speculating, I have no idea what the physical may have shown, that's going to make you pause. And you'd rather wait a day and get another MRI or have them send them to another specialist or take another closer look than just say, you know what, it'll all just work out. It'll all just work out. You might do if it was a 2-year, $8 million deal. For a 13-year, $350 million. I mean, come on. I mean, you're that kind of a contract, that kind of an investment, you're going to be absolutely sure, or you're going to lose your job as one of the doctors for the Giants. So they take their role very seriously. They probably saw something,
See, that's where I'm at. What?
I would think it would be back related, just because the back is always kind of a mysterious thing. But you never know. Could be COVID related. Could be related.
And we're not playing around with COVID, but that would be the easy avenue, because, it's nothing physical. It's nothing that can keep you from being a Giant or making me not want to spend money, because we've told our fans, and today was going to be, the party. We were about to, turn up and introduce our new Giant, who arguably, Larry, I mean, it's not even close, was going to be their best player. So I'm up here like, what could it be? And I know we'll never know, but again, you're sharing your thoughts. I'm sharing mine. We want to hear from you. 888-957-9570. Are you worried or no big deal? But I'll go Bonte on you. Where's your panic meter on this?
I'm not.
Is it at a 10?
No, it's not.
I'm at an 8, Larry.
But as far as I'm thinking the panic is not there, because the Giants are still this iconic franchise. They're going to remain an iconic franchise. They own their own ballpark. They have wealth beyond the means of almost every team in the big leagues.
They're losing fans by the minute.
By the minute. It doesn't help them in this offseason.
Okay, they're boring.
Not only they're bad this year, they were irrelevant and boring. So they need some juice.
Yeah.
And then the prospects they have, the Marco Lucianos, the Hunter Bishops, the Luis Matoses, the Elliot Ramoses, none of these guys are ready to break through. So they can't lean on their farm system and say, well, we'll just call up our star shortstop. Your star shortstop is probably 2 full seasons away, and he may not even be a shortstop by the time he gets there. A lot of speculation with Luciano that he has back problems and that he might not play shortstop or third base and may wind up as a left fielder or a DH. So I think there's a very good chance they move Luciano at some point and cash that chip in for something that can help him this year. But the question is, what do you do if this whole deal blows up?
Oh, on the field, it hurts you. You become impotent when it comes to your lineup. This dude is going to add some pop, and I'm again in a dream world about, hey, you won 107 with no names, and if you could tap into that and get some of that dust and put it on, a better version of that team, who knows? You can compete, but I got to be honest, when we were doing the changeover, we talked about his availability last year. You and I signed off on it, Kyle and Willard, okay, he was relatively healthy. And my first question, Larry, is this new? And again, the ramifications. Is it something that can be fixed? But when you talk about these physicals and there's a concern, a lot of times, and take sports off the table, if you see something, it's going to be there until you kind of remedy it if you can.
And the question I would have is, let's just say the Giants flagged him on something on the physical. Would every team flag him? Would there be some teams that would be willing to pay him what they offered, in his current physical condition and buy him like a car as is? There may be. I mean, the Giants were bidding against the Twins. The Cubs had some interest. But they've gone for. Where did Swanson?
I forget where Swanson ended up.
Cubs,
you're right.
Yeah,
Chicago.
Swanson went to the Cubs. So, the Cubs are probably out. So does he go back to the Twins? And I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. All I'll say is this: if this deal gets nixed, where do the Giants go? I mean, they could probably go back to Crawford at shortstop, but where do they go as far as trying to find that kind of central figure who's going to kind of be the guy that people
gravitate
toward, buy tickets because he's on the team, and they were looking to make a big
What does this do to the offseason if
this,
again, not Dr. Negative, but this is on the table until we find out otherwise? What would this then do? I gave them a B for their offseason, and 99% of the B was getting Correa. Like, what if he was off the table? What if he was not a Giant? I mean, then you go down to D plus for the offseason and forget grades. It's the product you're going to run out there on the field next April, because if he's not available, Larry, there is no shortstop Walmart. You can't, what do you need? I need a shortstop.
I know. Who would
oh, my goodness. It's like the party's over.
Right. I don't even know. Who would you pivot to? Ooh. Andrelton Simmons or Didi Gregorius?
Oh.
The drop-off is so dramatic that you'd probably just go back to Crawford. But then who's your anchor of your lineup? I mean, I think I saw a lineup on MLB Network where they had Correa penciled in the 2-hole as your 2-hole hitter. That's probably where I would hit him. I mean, that's a major factor in your lineup, and they need to get better offensively.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
This is a bad baseball team that I don't even think with Correa they're a playoff team.
Well,
I really don't.
I'll fight you on that, but I'm not mad, and I kind of get that. But that's the uphill battle they face when you got the Dodgers and Padres in your own division. And I'm with you. People laugh at the Diamondbacks. You could take it to the tail of the tape in regard to, do they have more talent or young players you could get behind than the Giants?
Here's the question I would have, too. If the Giants were dead set on pivoting to a big-time player, if Correa wasn't healthy enough, how about Fernando Tatis? The Padres just signed Xander Bogaerts.
Yeah, but
obviously, and Tatis has got his own physical issues. But there's been all kinds of talk this winter. The Padres are willing to move.
But
Tatis.
You think Farhan would do that right now with the stain that's on Tatis? And if I'm the Padres, I'm fixing that. Hey, you go to the outfield. Because, Larry, I never got when you get something, and then it's like, man, you got a surplus. You got studs everywhere. But then you throw one away like the Padres would be doing now. I know he broke hearts. Players are mad because he affected their season not being available and taking the PEDs, not knowingly, allegedly. But, Larry, I just don't get how a club would say bye-bye to him Because I'm thinking they're going to wrap everybody up. And you're looking at me now like,
no, I mean,
it ain't Monopoly money, son.
No, it's not that. It's that he's got chronic shoulder problems. I mean, he's had the same shoulder injury like 3 different times, right? So I'd be really
Stay
concerned
off the
about
dirt bikes.
I'd be concerned about Tatis's, not just the PEDs. I'd be concerned about just the shoulder and the long-term health of the shoulder. But
2 years ago, we were talking about him being the face of Major League Baseball.
Oh, I know, and he's an awesome talent. The question, though, is where would the Giants go? Because they would need to do something significant, you would think, to kind of shake their fans up and get them excited. Correa,
this is it.
Correa, got people excited. I don't know that there is a move out there. I mean, the thing about the Giants too is they would have to be a trade. And what do they have to trade?
But I'm not saying they're going to do it that way. I don't think much, but it would be panic. It would be like, you know what? They're operating after, this. We just got like buzzard luck. We just signed this dude, announced it to the world. We're proud. He's worthy. And my next question to you and the listeners is, how often do you see this too, Larry? Now, I see when there's a change of mind or but for a guy, something to come up and you cancel it and then it's just done, that's heavy.
Well, and we don't know if there's an injury or if it's just something that they saw that they didn't like.
Concern.
But, I mean, if you're signing a guy to a monster contract and you're already fearful about how it may play on the back end, and then you see something that's flagged on a random physical that you then makes you more concerned about the back end, you might just pull the plug just because, you know what? There's no real injury. I mean, there's nothing really significant here, but we're just not wanting to get into that long of a deal for those kinds of dollars with a player that has this medical, not history, but medical, prognosis. You pay your doctors a lot of money. What if their doctor said, you know what? We think this guy's, 5 years, great investment, but anything after that is really dubious with this kind of injury. And they're looking at 8 years potentially of huge money to a player who your doctors just said, he's going to last 5-6 years, and you gave him a 13-year deal. That could make you hedge. Yeah, that could make you pull out of the deal.
No doubt. And let me throw this to you. Do you think both sides could be looking at these results differently? Like, does the union get involved if Correa's saying this is no big deal, and the Giants are like, oh, it's a big deal, and they're like, no, we want our money. No, you know what I mean? Like that's the part of this story that we don't know. And the wannabe doctors on the Xfinity mobile text line, and again, everybody claims they have sources. Some saying it's been reported it's not a back issue, but
not a back issue,
allegedly. But we'll find out moving forward. But I just wonder if two sides are looking at something that Correa and his camp are like, oh, this is it's normal, it's no big deal, and the Giants are like, oh, hell nah, we don't feel comfortable giving you $350 million over 13 years because of whatever.
You never know in these physicals what's going to pop up. Do you remember Garrison Hurst, who played for the Niners? They did a physical of Garrison Hurst, I believe, when he was a free agent, discovered he had no ligament in his knee. I mean, literally had torn it away at a young age and had played his entire Georgia career without a ligament in one of his knees. But he still had a really good NFL career. But I mean, that came up after he was a pro, that he'd had some injury as an adolescent that, impacted the structure of his knee. It's hard to say.
Looks like Susan Slusser reported that it's not a back issue.
Not a back issue. Well, that's great news. That's great news.
But then is it really then what else could it be so heavy to where you canceled the get up today?
It could be anything. It could be a birth defect. You could have one leg that's longer than another. You could have any number of things that just never showed up on another team's medical report that show up on yours.
Right.
Or it also could just be that your doctors are saying, hey, you know what? We're looking at this and we're thinking a 5 to 6 year, term is the only thing we would really sign off on. And they're signed off to go for 13. And then they're looking at next year where there's probably going to be the same kind of thing you saw this year for Judge. You're going to have next year for Shohei. And maybe they want to be in that next year. And maybe this Correa deal, maybe this Correa deal is the kind of deal that would preclude them from getting in that mix. And maybe they really feel that they need not just a player, but they need a draw. And Judge is a draw, and Shohei's a draw, but Carlos is not.
Yeah, but there's nothing you're doing today, Larry. We got a special caller coming up. There's nothing you're doing today. I don't care what you do to make you get closer to Ohtani. They were in on their big fish, which was Carlos Correa. The fans went crazy. I get it, excited. The baseball world was like, okay, Farhan, you did it. And now we need to find out, and we will hopefully some point today or here in the near future about, and as Susan's correct in her reporting, it's not a back issue. It's something. And the something to me has the Giants so concerned, Larry, that they're putting pause on it right now.
Buyer's remorse.
Look at you.
Hey, how many people, we all know these kinds of people. They buy something on Tuesday. They buy something on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, they're returning it.
I got my hands up. I do it all the time. And then let me stop you. I'll do everything right at time. Larry, we got a special guest. We have an orthopedic surgeon, claims he's an orthopedic surgeon at a Half Moon Bay, Paul, who wants to talk about the Carlos Correa situation. What's up, Doc?
Yeah, hi. I'm really fascinated by what just happened. I finished surgery, and I hear that the Correa deal's maybe gone under. And it's interesting to how we need to appreciate the orthopedic surgeons and sports medicine doctors that take care of these teams, both for the players as for the ownership. And I think it's something that people don't realize how integrating the doctors are with the team. As I actually worked with at a Major League Baseball and NFL team for a year, and you see the stress on these doctors, especially doing the physicals, because of all the money that's involved.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. I mean, this has become, these doctors are there not just to look at the players on the team, but they're really there to kind of evaluate the risk factor in these multi-million-dollar free agent investments.
I think, appreciate the call. Larry, I get all that, but again, that doesn't take away from what's causing, and I'm not saying you're doing it, but you're like, Goo, you find out something's going on, it's not a back. It's fair to say that's what we know. It's not a back. But to me, it's something that's weighing on their mind so much to where they canceled today. And they probably just got the news the wee hours of last night or this morning, and you just kind of wonder, what could it be to where you get back to it's nothing? Hey, Carlos, here goes the 13 for 350. Because, and I'm a fan, but Giant fans, to me, that's all that matters. Not how we got here, what happens now that we're here. Whatever's ailing them, is it nothing? And who is that up to? Because like you said, it's the doctors telling the powers to be over on 3rd and King, he'll be fine.
Or it could be something that was spotted, and they just want to have a little, like Kyle was referencing, they just want to have a little bit more protection on the deal in some capacity with some little addendum to it that gives them some financial relief. Or it could be anything. It could be something that, with the insurance. I mean, a lot of times these deals, they go insure these deals, and players will insure themselves. I believe the clubs sometimes will insure, these contracts, these massive contracts, so they're not just totally left out. But it could be it could be any number of things, but it could just be that they want to change the terms and that they don't want to have a presser and make everything official until everything was buttoned up, especially when you're talking about this size of an investment.
350. Hey, I cut Paul off. He's back. Paul, sorry about that. You had one more point to make.
No, I'm sorry. With the Half Moon Bay drop, but just talking about what injury could be Correa might have. I mean, the common baseball injuries are obviously shoulder, wrist, elbow, and the back. And I've seen some major league players play with really horrible back MRIs, but they're not talking about signing a big contract like this guy's about to do. But the real question is, what would cause a doctor to hold up the deal? And it's got to be either like a rotator cuff tear, a labral tear, a wrist tear, or significant arthritis in the back. Those are the only things that I could think of that would hold up a deal like this. And there's a privacy issue with the player of what you can disclose. So we might not ever hear really anything.
Well, and I mean, I know some football players who got MRIs on their shoulders, and they didn't necessarily have shoulder pain, but there was all kinds of buildup because they had done so much lifting with their shoulders, and so there was the MRI showed all kinds of calcification buildup on the top of their shoulder. And they, some guys that brings them a lot of pain, other guys that brings them no pain at all. So there's that factor as well. It's like not only what does the MRI show, what does the X-rays show if there's any kind of a X-ray involved, but how does the athlete actually feel? Can he play with this pain? So I mean, it's also. It could be anything from the standpoint of there's stipulations where they want to give themselves protections. Maybe there's very little protection for the club in this deal, and after looking at the medicals, they want to add some protections.
Okay, and to me, here I go. That sounds like a simple conversation, especially if you're Correa and it's your body, and they're telling you this is what's holding up the deal. You got to feel like, okay, fine, where do I sign? But Larry, you would be blown away. I'm on YouTube, the Xfinity mobile text line, the amount of people, fans, saying if this deal falls through, they're done with the Giants. My question is, how can you take that stance if you want to dance and you don't find out till doing your due diligence that the person that you want on your team to be the face of the franchise has an issue? What am I missing? Because you couldn't have got that info any other time before he took the physical, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say this. I mean, I've talked to baseball.
Fan is short for fanatic if you're taking that stand. Come on.
I think that's a little harsh on the Giants, to be honest.
It's bad luck.
I mean, first of all, I've talked to executives in the past who have said...
Where's that bloop?
I've talked to executives in the past who have basically said, this is the danger of dancing in the free agent waters.
But how many times do you get bit?
You don't know what you're getting. You don't know what you're getting body type. You don't know what you're getting personality-wise. The Giants made a big move years ago under Sabian and Ned Colletti where they traded Joe Nathan and Booth Bonser and Francisco Liriano to the Twins.
Okay.
Right? And they got back A.J. Pierzynski. Well, Pierzynski didn't get along at all with their pitchers, with their staff.
A lot of people, but
he rubbed a lot of people wrong.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to Brian and talking to Ned later that year after they DFA'd him the next offseason. And they just said, you know what, go away, basically. And they just handed him into the free agency. The White Sox signed him. He won the World Series the very next year with the White Sox as their catcher. But they didn't know what he was. They didn't know what he was personality-wise. They didn't know what he was work ethic-wise. They didn't have that knowledge. And then they said to me, every time you jump in on a free agent or a trade for a player that you don't know, that didn't come up through your system, you're gambling. You're gambling on, is this person a PED user?
Yeah.
Is this person, a clean liver off the field? Yeah. Does this person abide by the law?
It's the cost of doing business, Larry.
You don't know who you're getting in bed with.
Yeah.
So it's just, a lot of times that's the danger of free agency is that you're investing huge dollars in guys that you don't know that well.
No, and Larry, the lines are packed. We got Steve, John, Christina, Mary, all on hold. We'll get to you on the other side. But I also want to just tap into
you can't blame the Giants,
your urgency meter, though, because I'm like, I need to know now. Don't you want? Where are you at on your urgency meter?
Oh, I mean, this is their off season. I mean, Willard was just talking to Pavlovich, and Kyle and Willard talking to Pavlovich. Pavlovich made it sound like this may be like it for the off season. So if this was it, and now this isn't going down, obviously that's a huge blow to their offseason.
Yeah,